All right, RotoBallers, now that you've set up your cheat sheets and reviewed your preseason projections, you're ready to do a mock draft. Okay, where you'll find that is under the league homepage. Scroll down and click on Draft Simulator Assistant or Start Mock Draft. Now, if you've started any mock drafts already, they'll show up here. And it's not necessarily league specific here. See, we've done started two different drafts for two different leagues here. So you can either resume that or clone it or delete it. If you want to start from scratch, you can go ahead and select start a new mock draft. Okay, the first thing you want to do is select draft mode. We're going to select mock draft. You could also select draft assistant, which is a manual process of selecting picks as you go, as opposed to the AI simulator making the picks. And then you have live draft sync, which will take you to the live draft mode instead of a mock draft. I'm going to go ahead and select mock draft. I'm going to choose to emulate this particular league here and check out the scoring settings. This is just a regular snake draft. I also have the option of doing a mock for an auction or salary cap draft. If you just want to get into the draft kind of quickly, you can go ahead and just select yes, and it'll remove some of the customizable options you have down here, but you cannot pick a particular cheat sheet to use if you use that method, so we're just going to leave it at no. Auto picks, a quick simulation, you can change the timing of that if you like. User pick time, you can update that. So it's basically how quickly the AI is going to make a pick versus how quickly you'll make a pick in this draft. Draft type, snake, linear, and a third round reversal. You can edit the number of teams. You can actually adjust the order as well by double clicking and dragging and dropping. You can use dynasty rankings in a mock draft. Here's where we will select our cheat sheet. So we created a cheat sheet ahead of time for this league. Choose that one. If there's pick trading in here, you can set that up as well to simulate any type of trading you think might happen. Dynasty keepers, you can also manually add those or use the settings that are based on the league rosters. There's also position weighting options as well. So for example, if for whatever reason you know the managers in your league will rank catchers very highly and draft them more aggressively than they otherwise would in a normal draft, you can set that, and when it comes time to make a recommendation to you, the system knows that there's a likely chance that another manager maybe will take a catcher, and so if that's one of your team needs, it will insist on a catcher when it normally otherwise wouldn't have. Okay, you get a pop-up here basically letting you know that you use the green arrow on the left to start the draft. Before we do that, we're going to go over a couple of things here. Just real quick, you use this 3-line icon here to get rid of the left navigation menu and bring it back by clicking it again. You're going to land on the Expert Picks tab, and you see what's available here to you. We have team needs and overall value picks. These are recommendations the system is giving you based on your scoring settings, roster settings, any type of league settings that are specific to this league, and just a general overall value on these picks. You can filter these picks by batters and pitchers, specific positions. You can filter them by team, and the system's going to default to give you 10 picks. You can change it to fewer or some more. On this page here, you have your player overview screen. It'll give you the name of the player. Their position is highlighted in a particular color. Batters will be color-coded blue. Starting pitchers will be color-coded purple, and relief pitchers will be color-coded orange. You also have a rank listed here. This ranking is based on the specific cheat sheet that you selected in the beginning when we were setting up our mock draft. So you can see that particular cheat sheet. We ranked Ronald Acuna 2, not 1. And so you see that specific ranking listed there. You also have the player's average draft position listed there. Any notes that you put into your cheat sheet will show up here as well. There's an overall need score. So based on your team need, the player gets an overall team need score. There's an overall value score, and there's a nice feature here, percentage ANP, available next pick. So these are the chances that this player will be available with your next pick. it is ranking catchers very strongly based on the item that I showed you in the beginning of the mock draft. You also have the ability, once you start your draft, to click on draft from here. It'll draft the player. And if you don't want the player to show up in the recommendation, you can check this icon here and it will get rid of that player and won't show up as a recommendation anymore. You can use the star icon here to add a player to your queue. If you go over here, left hand side, and select queue, you'll see your players listed here. You can also draft a player from this screen. Note that if it's a live draft, you will still have to make those selections on the platform itself. So if it's a Yahoo league, you're still going to have to make the selection on Yahoo. This draft icon here will not show in a live draft. Here's your pick history, any players that have been drafted. Moving over to the results tab, it will show you the projected results. And for a points league, you're going to see a fantasy points column here. It's going to look a little different for a category league. I'll show you that towards the end. You also have a results by position, and that will change dynamically as the draft goes on. You can view it by values and view it by ranks, and you can view by entire roster or starters only. You have projections tab. You can see any particular categories that are specific to the point scoring system will be highlighted in yellow. You can also hide drafted players as the draft is going on. Here are your cheat sheets. So that cheat sheet that we selected in the beginning when we were setting up our draft, you can see the notes. You still have the ability to add a player to a watch list here, draft them from this page, search for a particular player, hide drafted, and you also have the draft board. This is going to fill in with players as they get selected. You can also view it by team. So let's quickly go through a few picks so we get a sense of how these various tabs look as the draft is happening. And there's a couple other features that we need to show you. Okay, so the system is making picks. Now it's back to us. It's our pick. What you can do is pause the draft, and we'll do that so we can go and look at some of these other tabs. So now, based on the picks that have taken place, you can see where your team ranks, and you can see it by category. Since there's been some players drafted, we can go ahead and hide drafted. We can show drafted if we need to. And then the draft board. You can see the picks by round and by team. And if you want to start over from a particular spot in the draft, say we didn't like our first pick with Adley Rutschman, we can go and reset the draft from that point. Or we can reset it from any other point. That's what this little icon here is. Okay, coming back over to the Expert Picks tab, let's go ahead and just draft Spencer Strider. And now you can see the system is recommending Corbin Carroll with our next pick. He's eligible at these positions, which are specific to the platform you're drafting for. So if it's a Yahoo league, it's going to show you the Yahoo position eligibility, the percentage that the player will be available with the next pick. And again, team need recommendation and an overall value recommendation. Okay, let's pause the draft and we'll go and show you a few little differences how this looks with the category league. So let's resume the Yahoo Public League draft here. Now this is for a category league. You can see the categories that are being used for the hitters or the pitchers are going to be shown here and given a color coding. And it's either going to be dark green, and that's based on how that particular player is going to help you in that category versus other players that are available. As you can see, Ronald Acuna is going to help us in runs, home runs, stolen bases. Not as much with RBIs, as you can see. He's projected for 93, so Shohei Ohtani, who is projected for 99, is shaded a little darker. And for those categories where the player's not going to help us, it's going to be shaded red. Now, if we go to the projections tab, you're going to see a Z-score as opposed to a fantasy points score. Again, the Z-score is based off of the ranking that you gave that player, as well as any league, roster, or scoring specific settings, their ATC projection, as well as position scarcity or any of those particular settings you may have weighted in the beginning when you're setting up your draft. This particular draft, we didn't make any weightings, so these are simply the calculation of the rest of those items that I mentioned. Okay. It's our turn to draft in this case. Draft Shohei. You can see the AI is going to go ahead and continue this draft. We can make another pick, and it's going to continue on. Now, again, say we didn't like our pick of Luis Castillo at the last turn. Go back to our draft board and start over at that pick. Now we can choose to draft differently and see how the rest of the draft plays out. One other key difference with category leagues is you can punt categories. So we scroll down here and we see runs, home runs. We're doing well on home runs based on our picks so far. So if you want to punt that for the next round or several rounds, you can do that. And the system is going to disregard home runs when making recommendations. And then you can add that bit back in at any point during the draft. The system will start considering that again when making recommendations. Okay, then once you complete your draft, there will be a draft analysis, and we'll have a separate video tutorial on how to review your draft analysis, little key items to look for in that, and that's it. That's how you mock draft using our Team Sync tool, and that'll get you prepared for your live drafts. We'll also go over live drafts in a separate video tutorial as well.